All right, so this is kind of a story of the dangers of when companies overreach and technology has gone too far. I am not for this. This is a bad idea. Apple CarPlay's whole car takeover integration will debut in 2024. You can go read this article on the Auto blog. I originally found it through the Yahoo News, Yahoo landing page because they aggregate articles there. I know that a lot of people don't do that. I do, and I find stuff there and I source it out. But the plan is that, and Apple announced this at their Worldwide Developers Conference in 2022. So this was planned a while back. And I wasn't aware of it then. I don't watch their WWDCs, but basically they're going to make partnerships with Acura, Audi, Ford, Hyundai, Infiniti, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lincoln, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Polestar, Porsche, Renault, and Volvo. Looks like Toyota didn't make the lineup and a few others, and I'm glad they didn't. But this essentially would let them have a proprietary monopoly over in-vehicle infotainment systems, which is just wrong. That should not be a thing. I should not go to get a used Ford, for example, because obviously I'm not buying brand new, not unless you guys want to donate some money, because I'm not a big fan of Ford, but I shouldn't go to buy a used Ford or Honda at some point and then realize I can't use my phone with the car effectively because it's locked down to Apple-only devices. This also creates, again, more planned obsolescence because once Apple's done with that contract, they're not going to support that car anymore. That's the problem. Also, I don't like the way it collects data. There are already issues. If you guys aren't aware of this, I'll be glad to let you know what was been found on this, but that auto companies have been collecting your data, including your private text messages and recording your phone calls and keeping that data for marketing. This is a thing that has been found out. This isn't conjecture. This isn't a lie. It's out there. Go look it up. So I don't want Apple having that data from me. I don't want a lot of companies having that data from me. But I feel like I have more control over my data with other companies than I do with Apple's products, which is why I don't use Apple's products. This is a horrible idea, and it creates an unfair monopoly. How is any other phone company supposed to produce products to use with vehicles that are locked down to Apple's ecosystem? That is really a scary thought. Do you want Apple having more of your data than they already have? One of the things suggested was the automotive companies are doing this, the ones listed anyway, because they can't compete with infotainment systems. They're not good at developing those. So hire an infotainment developer. Get better at that. Don't proprietarily lock this down to one phone provider. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. So hopefully something is done about this, but it appears we're 2 years too late to this. And again, I didn't see this. There's just so much news out there, guys. It is hard to keep up with. That's why I'm putting videos here so you can see this. But I hope this can get blocked somehow. It doesn't look like it will. But at this point, I some of these brands I can't even afford. So I know it's funny for me to say, I'm not buying any of these brands. But I had considered my next vehicle to be a Nissan. So I'll tag Nissan on this. I'm not buying your product anymore. I have no interest in your vehicle. If you're going to have it be Apple proprietary, I have none. I will not be buying your vehicle. I will stick to Toyota at this point, since they're not on this list. And I know Toyota's not perfect. But same with Honda. I did consider, there were 3 brands I considered when placing my vehicle, because that's going to come up at some point. And it would have been either Nissan, Hyundai, or Ford. Those are kind of the 3 I was looking at because those are more in the affordable range. At this point, I have no interest in buying vehicles from any of those brands if they're going to go this way. You guys make enough money off your vehicles that you do not need to be doing this kind of stuff to blight your customers. So yeah, and again, I have no interest in this. I'll buy an older used Nissan vehicle that doesn't have this kind of stuff tied to it, but let's say it's 2026 and I'm in the market for a 2024. I'm not going to buy a 2024. This will be a lasting effect that will prevent me from buying vehicles. Dealerships, keep this in mind too. If I have to go to you to get a used vehicle, I will automatically be excluding the Ford, Honda, and the rest of those. I won't be looking to buy those. If I suddenly win the lottery tomorrow, I will not be buying any of these brands brand new or used. Will not happen. If I suddenly come into a extremely well-paying job, I will not be making payments on a car that is locked down like that. It's not going to happen. So that's where I'm at on those. What are your thoughts on this? Does this affect your purchasing decision, on what you're going to get? Do you think it should be more open? Why do you think it should be locked down to one provider if you agree with this decision?